So if you've seen the Black Ops Cold War multiplayer reveal trailer, you may have seen the zombies teaser at the very end. In this teaser, the audio for a portion of the iconic Juggernog perk jingle is heard, suggesting that the fan-favorite perk will make a return in this upcoming game. Many members of the zombies community were unhappy with Juggernog's removal in Black Ops 4 and the change to player health on spawn, in which players spawn in as a 4-hit down from normal zombie attacks. It has been speculated that the removal of perks like Juggernog was part of an effort to rework or remove crutch perks from the game. The logic behind removing crutch perks is that removing them would open up more perk slots for the player, causing them to try out a variety of perks and perk combinations. While I think the way Black Ops 4 implemented their rework of Juggernog was certainly very flawed and not especially fun to play, I don't think the removal of Juggernog was necessarily a bad idea, since I generally only use the same 4 perks on each map in Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. Since it is now known that Juggernog is likely to make a return, I would like to suggest some possible health or perk systems which would allow Juggernog to exist as a perk in Black Ops Cold War, but still be consistent with this idea of increasing the variety of perks that players use from game to game. If you'd like a TLDR summary of what I cover in this video, there will be a timestamp in the description to the part in the video where I summarize my points in one sentence. So the first system I'd like to suggest is System 1.0, Back to Basics. In this system, the player will down in 3 hits without Jug, down in 5 hits with Jug, and have 4 perk slots on spawn. The one big change here is that the player will have the ability to increase perk slots, something which was notably absent in Black Ops 3, without the use of Gobblegum. So this system is essentially the Black Ops 3 system, which is already held in a pretty high regard by the community. While Juggernog still exists as a crutch in this system, the idea here is to allow players to obtain more perk slots through gameplay, as seen on maps like Zetsubo no Shima and Origins. What I love about these two maps is that while yes, I generally start out with the same 4 perks, I know that I can eventually get almost all the perks and feel very powerful by the time I set up. For example, on Origins, almost every time I play I get Quick Revive, Jug, Stamina, and Mule Kick. But once I start obtaining those extra perk slots, then I buy perks like Speed Cola, Double Tap, and then I start to experiment with things like Deadshot and Widow's Wine, perks I wouldn't normally use because I'm relying on Juggernog and Stamina, Quick Revive, and Mule Kick to have fun on Origins with the staves. This system still allows Juggernog to exist as a crutch, but also gives the player more room to try out new perk and perk combinations so that it is still consistent with the prevailing idea with removing Juggernog from Black Ops 4. The next system I'd like to bring up is very similar to the last one, and so for that reason I call it System 1.1, Raise the Perk Ceiling. So again, we see your hits to down without Jug is 3, your hits to down with Jug is 5, but your perk slots on spawn is 8. So similar to the last idea, have more perk slots allows the player to experiment with other perks while still obtaining Juggernog as usual. Difference here is that the player starts off with more perk slots instead of having to earn them through gameplay. While I personally think having a limit on the number of perks a player can buy is kind of an out-of-date model, I can understand that perhaps game designers want the player to still feel a bit vulnerable in the late game so gameplay doesn't get too boring or repetitive. As a result, this system would restrict the player to 8 perk slots with a system in place to make perks 5 through 8 more difficult to obtain in the first 4. One solution I came up with to balance this would be to make perks 5 through 8 cost more and more points, similar to how re-rolling the Gobblegum machine costs more and more every 5 rounds in Black Ops 3. Doing so would require players to strategize which perks they want to purchase first, so they're not spending all their early game points on perks, but it would still allow players to eventually obtain almost all the perks by the end game with the cost of several thousand extra points. So one layout that I created for this new balancing system would be perks 1 through 4 are at the normal price, perk 5 costs an extra 2,000, 6 costs an extra 3,000, 7 costs an extra 4,000, and then 8 costs an extra 5,000 points. System 1.1 allows Juggernog to still exist as a crutch, but also leaves room for players to purchase a variety of perks. It also requires strategizing from the player in what they want to buy first, which adds an additional depth to the overall gameplay. The next system I would like to bring up is what I call System 2.0, taking notes from Black Ops 4 and persistent upgrades. The features of this system include, again, hits to down on spawn is 3, hits to down with Jug is 5, and the number of perks on spawn is 4. And there's also the chance that you'll have the ability to increase your perk slots. The main difference here is once you complete map objectives, like Power or Pack-a-Punch, your hits to down increases to 4. This system borrows ideas from Black Ops 2, 3, and 4. On spawn, the player downs in 3 consecutive hits, as you do in Black Ops 3, which maintains that idea of early game vulnerability, which is one of the most common criticisms of Black Ops 4 health system on spawn. While it is uncommon for you to be hit 3 consecutive times in the early game, the player must still be careful not to put themselves into perilous situations where a down could be possible. The Juggernog perk makes its return and acts as it did in Black Ops 3, so the player can choose to spend points and a perk slot to increase their health. However, in completing map objectives like activating Power or activating Pack-a-Punch or something of that nature, the player can also receive a health boost, albeit a smaller one than purchasing Juggernog. This would be similar to Black Ops 2's persistent upgrade, Permajug, which allowed players to survive 2 extra hits than normal when not using Juggernog, making them a 4-hit down. This leaves the player with 2 choices as they play. Either use just a free increase in health by playing as normal and activating all these objectives around the map, or they can purchase Juggernog to increase their health even further than the free version, but this will cost them a valuable perk slot and their points. The driving idea behind this system is that Juggernog is less of a crutch perk for skilled players because there is another way to boost health that is not only reliably obtained, unlike Permajug, and integrated within the gameplay of these maps. Doing so would encourage skilled players to use and experiment with other perks. If the number of perk slots is also increased, this would further encourage perk variety and may cause players to actually wait to buy Juggernog until later in the game, because skilled players may not see it as a necessity until the late game when zombies start moving quicker. So a TLDR summary of all the points I wanted to bring up include: give me more perk slots so I can experiment with more perks, and give me other ways to increase my health so I don't absolutely have to buy Juggernog each game. So these are 3 possible systems that I came up with to implement Juggernog in Black Ops Cold War, while still encouraging perk variety within the game. I would love to hear feedback from other people on my ideas, as well as hear how they would want to see Juggernog implemented in Black Ops Cold War. So feel free to leave a comment with your thoughts. If you liked this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit the like button and or subscribed, since those would both help me out immensely. Thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll see you around.